And yeah, like it just all boils down to you. What do you want out of life? Do you want to remain lonely? Do you want to remain depressed? Do you want to remain suicide? I don't know. I said, who wants to be suicidal?
Nobody.
No
Nobody.
one.
Naturally in their right state of mind. Every human being wants to thrive.
Exactly. Everybody's trying to search for that happiness. And sometimes that happiness it could be far away, but it all depends on what you are willing to do. It doesn't have to be, but if you're not willing to take those steps, it's going to be further and further away.
But right now we're coming to the next part of the show where, on this day, Thursdays, we always look at mental health and personal development. And Nicole, you was with us last week and you shared some really powerful insights, okay? And we was touching on the subject of loneliness, right? It's quite interesting because we're here just looking at some statistics here, and it says here levels of loneliness in Great Britain have increased since spring 2020. Between 3rd of April and 3rd of May 2020, 5% of people, which is about 2.6 million adults, said they felt lonely often or always. From October 2020, the results from the Opinions Lifestyle Survey show that the proportion increased to 7.2% of the adult population, which is 3.7 million adults. And like that's not even dealing with children or 16 to 24-year-olds, because we know that it's even higher, even though we're in a situation that we're more connected. I mean, why do you think it's increased so much?
I think that there's a lot of distractions in today's society, in today's world, and there's a lot of comparisons. Like a lot of people tend to compare themselves, and like we have social media for one. Like it can be used for good, but it can also be used for negative and bad things. Like people will compare themselves and they want a life like this person, and then it's like, because I don't have a life like that person, I must be lonely. Then they get like obviously these thoughts start to come, and it starts to say to them, look, like, because I'm not popular. Like last week I was talking about popularity, personas. And when I was younger, I used to have people around me all the time, and I used to be in groups of girls, groups of guys, like amongst people, and because of that, it built up that persona in me where I just thought to myself, well, I'm not an alone person. I can walk alone. And I always had this phrase as well, that obviously you were born alone, you're gonna die. And that's something that I had in my mind, like, but it came with the persona.
Where did this come from?
It just came with the persona because of the things that I was doing, the negativity that I was involving myself in. And there's different areas of loneliness. We touched on relationships, family, we touched on friendships, we touched on so many different things last week. But I feel like with that kind of thought, and that was like a motto that I lived by. Like I could go on the high road and nothing can happen to me because who I know,
Yeah.
And it came to a point where when I realized, when I was going through those things at home or the internal stuff that I was going through, I was actually alone, because those people couldn't resolve my problems. They couldn't resolve my issues. So it's like, I feel like because of everything that's going on in society and in the world today, it overpowers people and it makes them to feel very overwhelmed. And then when they're alone with their thoughts, as I said last week, it makes them to think like, okay, I'm actually a lonesome. Like, despite you could be in a room of 1,000 people and still feel alone.
Yeah, I mean, we've even heard about celebrities speaking about this. They're known by everybody, but they feel isolated and alone.
Yeah, and then COVID didn't help it, like, because now you're no longer actually, you can no longer run away from your reality that you're alone. You are not actually by force alone.
You have to face it.
You have to face it. So those four walls now become your best friend. And it's like something you was running away from, and like they say, you can never hide, you can never run away from your problems. Go to another country, you can sit on the beach and it will still be there, do you know, until you actually resolve the issues.
It's true.
So it's really deep in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, and also I'm just listening to what you're saying now, and I think back. I mean, obviously, I came to Youth KJ Help Center quite a young age, as a teenager. So I was like 17, right?
Yeah.
But during that 2 year when I was still the old self, I do recall that, yeah, I had to go out. I had to be with a group of people. So, you know, right now I can imagine with the pandemic as well, you know, you can't see family, right?
Exactly.
And even apparently there are lots of relationship issues as well, because couples are now having to face each other. They can't escape each other. So people are having to face their realities. And even in a relationship, people are feeling like they're alone.
Yeah, because imagine like you see your partner, and obviously I'm not in a relationship, so I can't really speak fully, but from people that I've spoken to as well, you're with your partner, and 9 times out of 10 before the COVID, you would maybe go to work, you work separate places, and then you come home, and the only times you're at home is actually like in the evening. And then by the time it's evening time, you're tired, you might have 1-2 conversations. How's your day? Some people don't even have that. And then it's like, okay, got to get if you have children, you have to get the children ready for bed, whatever, whatnot. But today, it's like, due to the COVID, they're in the house together. They're working from home together, and it's like, if they haven't built up that communication, like effective communication, it's not just, okay, yeah, how's your day? Like, it's just like more on a deeper scale, like, you know, let's talk, let's have a family meeting, maybe, you know, family meeting, but a fun family meeting, because they don't use these opportunities and these tools. It's almost like there's separation within the household, even though you're both there. It's like you don't even know each other. So it's like, yeah, you are feeling alone. And that tends to happen a lot. And to be honest, there's a lot of breakups in this time. You know, there has been a lot of breakups, but I think it just boils down to the communication and what you want to see out of a relationship, whether that's with your partner or some people live at home with their parents. It has been a strain on a lot of young people, and that's where I think that it's risen so much, because now young people, adolescents, they also have that responsibility in their house, where before they'll go to school and then their chores might be minimum. Now they're in the house all the time. So you're going to be doing more in the house. So you need to be making sure that the house is well kept and things like this. Whereas it brings a strain on the relationships between mother and daughter, father. So it's like, you just have to kind of understand. I think it's the understanding of the way that each other communicates.
And I think that's a huge one right there. Because like, even, you know, when you touched when we spoke just previously about young people, you know, being the most isolated, and, you know, connecting that with new technologies that we have to communicate. You know, we previously on the Breakfast Show, we've mentioned this about quality communication. Right? Quality communication, that communication when you go deep, that communication where you're transparent.
Exactly.
You know, and it's like you have loneliness, but, you know, you could be in a good situation, but loneliness can creep in and you can become isolated because you don't know quality communication. Sometimes, you know, as human beings, we can be superficial. And because quality communication sometimes means becoming uncomfortable, you know, and then after, guess what? We create this new monster called loneliness, you know, and it's even bigger work to kind of overcome that, if you know what I mean. So I think that's a huge one that you've just brought up right now, quality communication. And I think quality communication is is a skill as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's a skill to reach out if you are feeling lonely. It's a skill to reach out if you want to overcome loneliness. You know, and bring coercion in your environment and family. It's a skill that I don't think we don't look to invest in.
Yeah, no, I don't think people do, because a lot of people have trust issues as well, and that also brings forth isolation. You know, you can't trust, like you said, quality. You can't trust yourself to open up and to be real with a person, especially if you've got traumas from the past, because those are challenges of loneliness. So it's like, if you have traumas or any hurt from the past, or you lack trust or you lack confidence, you're not going to have the confidence to want to talk. You're not going to have that, you know, trust to let me go there and speak, you know. And there's so many things, like as I was explaining, you know, when I was younger, I also had counseling. So I had counseling a few times actually, because we was burgled when I was young, and it put a detrimental effect on obviously my family. And then on top of that, I had been abused, so I had on 2 different separate occasions. But even through my counselling, I just felt like I can speak to somebody. They don't know me, so they're not going to judge me. But in that time frame of 7 weeks, not much occurred. Like, there wasn't that much of an outcome, in the sense of, I'm just venting and I'm saying everything to somebody. They don't know me, so they're not going to judge me. But they're there to listen more than to give you the result or to resolve the situation. And it's like, you're digging up the past. And I think that's a good thing, but it's not as great as you'd like, because when you've now dug deep and you're revealing all these things, what are you going to do with them in the end? Then before you know it, your sessions are over. You know, the first one is, you don't trust, so you're going to a room, but you're going to be apprehensive anyway, because you don't know this person. And even though they say it's confidential, there's a lot of corruption nowadays. So it's like, you're speaking, and then you're just like, what do I do with this? Now the test comes, because I've revealed everything. It's like a Pandora's box, as we mentioned last week. I've said everything out in the open. You know, it's out in the air, but then I'm the one that still has to deal with it. So that's something else that it's just like, you know, it's a challenge, because now you have to overcome that barrier of language as well. Because when you have a professional in front of you, their language, technical terms, you know, they might pinpoint certain areas of you, and you're thinking, oh, I didn't know I had that. But then you might not have had that, but then it's like, because a professional is telling you, your specialist is telling you, you're like, yeah, like, that's me, like, that's me, you know. So it's a challenge in that sense, and I feel like you just have to kind of overcome these things by going through the channels of each area of your life. Like,
okay, so we're going to go into that right now. So those of you who are listening at this present moment, I mean, can you relate to some of the things? Have you seen these types of fruits, you know, going to get external help, but obviously people haven't been able to spend quality time with you? Let us know, because if you are going through this kind of challenge, you know, we have the UCKG helpline, which you can contact, or just visit uckg.org, and you'll have the helpline number on there, and literally you can definitely get some support, you know, a listening ear, but someone to kind of go deeper with you according to what you're willing to be open to receive for the help. All right, so one of the things we touched on, so we spoke about in the first place, we can be afraid or intimidated to have quality communication, right? And I know I keep going back to this, because when you made it just rang a few alarm bells, because we don't have the skill. We can say things to make things worse, right? And you know, things like the love school and all these things, once you learn how to answer certain things or how to deal with certain situations, it makes it easier.
100%.
Right? Like, even I just saw a release on your face when I said that. So now, so you said that there were certain things in order to help us to kind of navigate this whole loneliness thing, yeah?
Yeah.
So certain areas to overcome loneliness.
Yes.
Yeah? Take us through it.
So personally, I would say that your surroundings play a big part on your on how you feel, you know, because I guess everyone goes through stages of how they feel, and you know, the intensity of, because loneliness can be a big factor in the sense of, like, you know, you take it on board and you take ownership of that. And I feel like if you aren't stuck, like we were saying, stuck in a rut, if you are in a position of being stuck in a rut, or you're by yourself all the time and you're like alone with your thoughts, as I said last week, you have to now you have to come out of your comfort zone. You have to think to yourself, is it because I'm putting myself in this position? Yes, I'm putting there's a barrier. Yes, there's walls, but you have to then take yourself out of the surroundings that you're in. Now, the word says bad company
breeds corrupts good habits.
Good habits, right?
Yeah.
And also something that my nan used to say was that it's about your surroundings. So one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Now, growing up, like, I was around a lot of people that were doing craziness. You know, we were all in the same boat, and I'm no better than anybody else. But you have to come to a point where you're fed up of your situation. Like, you have to be like, okay, look, this is my life. You have to face reality and do some self-acceptance and admittance that I don't want to be in this predicament anymore. So what do I have to do? You have to push yourself, as hard as it may be. You have to push yourself out of that lonely space that you're in. Surroundings, maybe go to the park, maybe, you know, go for a run around the block from time to time, because the air is good. I prefer outside than the gym, to be honest. I love going for little jogs. You know, your friendship circles. Like, I'm not saying, just lock off every man or lock off every person, but you have to be like, okay, look, I don't need to be in this surrounding because it's not actually doing me any justice. I started going to church. That was my thing. Church helped me. You know, when I started to hear what was said in church, it really gave me grounding as well. So, you know, me going through depression and me being suicidal and being abused, and, you know, all of that hurt and like suffering that I was going through, it was pain, you know. And then when I heard the word and it said, you know, you're healed by God's stripes, you know,
by his stripes
you are healed. Yeah. So I just thought to myself, okay, it's something that now I can feed off, but it also nurtures me. And that helped me then to overcome a lot of things, because if I kept on reciting it back to myself, it makes sense. Like, you know, it made sense to me. So, and that healed me from loneliness. It healed me from depression. It healed me from being suicidal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like just in general, you need to change your surroundings, because surroundings have a big part in how you feel.
Yeah.
It's a big factor. You know, I could go to, for instance, I used to go raving a lot. And that for me was a getaway. It was a getaway from it was an escape route from my loneliness, from my depression, everything else.
But the thing is, the loneliness and depression was the reality, and the rave was the fantasy.
Yes.
The temporary fantasy.
Temporary. So it was like, okay, this is life, like YOLO. But actually, when I really thought about it, it was just me digging myself into more of a bigger grave, because you're utilizing, like, it will corrupt your finances. No, I spent so much money on a new outfit every time I went out. You don't want to wear the same thing, so you're going shopping. You make sure you have your Vex money, as my mum always used to say.
Vex money.
Just in case anything happens, you make sure you got your Vex money, and then you have your drinks money. And it's like, financially, you're digging yourself into more of a rut, because you're going through these channels and you're thinking that this is the only way out. But it's not the only way out. It's temporary. You know, when they say momentary, sorry.
Yeah.
It's just for the moment. Like, it's even relationships before.
Yeah.
You know, I had to change my mindset from dating people just to searching for love, because I'm lonely. So that's another thing that I had
This
to
is
say.
a huge one that you're touching on now. We have our breakfast show talker, Paulette from Plaso, saying, is there any good books about communication? Right, this is important, right?
Yes,
Because
it's
to
very
break barriers, it always starts with communication, right?
Yes.
Besides, because I know you spoke about environment and all that kind of stuff, and I've just shared a book there by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
That's an amazing book on communication, fantastic. And if you want something on love life, Bulletproof Dating. I'm sorry, we do a book review on every Wednesday, and I'm just a fan.
It is a good book.
Now, what's interesting, I know you was touching onto the subject of love life,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to develop into it, but words are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Words are just absolutely powerful, right?
100%.
Because our environment, things are happening in our environment, but depending on the environment, there are different words that have been spoken.
Yeah.
There are words that have been spoken in our heads.
Yes.
There are words that were spoken that affect us later on when we're by ourselves.
Exactly.
You know, and so when you're talking about your surroundings as well, you know, and you say that you went to church, you went into a new environment with different words that were uplifting,
Yeah.
words that were healing.
Yes.
You know, instead of stabbing you and poking holes in you in your confidence, it was strengthening you.
Yeah.
So what you're saying to us is that if anybody wants to change and heal from the inside out, because the loneliness, like you said, is a mindset.
Yes.
So we need to change our surroundings, right?
Yeah.
Surroundings is our words. We could be in our house, but the people that we allow to be with us in our house,
Yes.
their words and what they're doing can be degenerating us.
Yeah, it could bring you down. It could degrade you. You know, one thing I would say, before, my mouth was very foul, and I had to understand why do I, you know?
I can't imagine your mouth being foul.
It was.
I just can't. It's impossible. Wow.
I've come a long way. You know,
Of
it was
course.
my mouth was very foul, very toxic, and I realized I was really, really bad, and I had to dig deep to why that was, and like it leads back to persona, like. No one can mess with me. That's how in my thoughts, I was just like, everything was security, but security for bad, not security like stability. And so that really put an effect on my life. And it was hard. It was really hard. But what I realized is that you just have to get fed up. You have to be fed up of your situation. You have to be like, I'm done with, you know, I have to give myself a chance. That's one thing that I realized. I had to give myself an opportunity to be different. You know, when my mouth was horrible and foul, they said there's death and life lies in your in the power of the tongue.
Is so
that
strong,
is too
you know?
powerful. For me, I was like,
You know, I love the way that the Bible has a remedy for everything that we can
Everything.
go through. It's amazing. But look, we're going to speak more about this. This is really, really powerful. And I'm actually loving these insights because these things are transferable to all kinds of things. You know, today, you know, I don't have to deal with loneliness anymore, but you never know. Tomorrow, a situation going to happen where loneliness could try to creep in, you know, and these tools are very, very handy. And it also helps me to understand how other people see things as well, which is really, really strong. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go into a very, very quick break, guys, just to give a bit of a breather so you can digest the conversation that we've just had just now. So just to kind of recap, so places to overcome loneliness. So one of the key ones you've touched on now is your surroundings.
yeah,
Surroundings, and one of the powerful tools that we've had in discussion is about communication, right? Communication and
100%.
the power of words.
Yes.
Absolutely phenomenal. All right, guys, so we're going to go for a very quick timeout and we're going to come back in just a moment. Okay, so right now we've been having a conversation here. We've been talking about mental health, dealing with subjects of loneliness. It can affect everybody. It can affect people in marriage. People are been in lockdown. They've been with their partner, and they're finding out that, you know what, they're having issues. You know, there's communication issues, and I can see how that being married for as long as I have been, I can see how that can happen. I can see. I've experienced that. We've had to kind of like knuckle down and have deep conversation and uncomfortable conversation to kind of keep things real, you know what I mean? And I can see how it can affect people in relationship, and people can be lonely because they can't connect and communicate. They can see how the person can be in their own thoughts and be self-persecuted in their mind and distance themselves. But just before the timeout, you was touching on something very interesting, which I think is really important, and it's about how to start to change that situation. You talked about getting fed up about it.
So like I was saying, you have to get to a point of no more self-sabotaging. Like
no more self-sabotaging.
Like
that's
interesting. You can't pick and prod at everything, you know. And if you've been through so many like things in the past and you have a history, everyone's got a past, everyone's got a history, but you have to kind of like leave it there. Unless the only way your past should be really like, you know, if like, you know, if you're going back to your past, it should be that you need to uproot or, you know, go deeper into a situation that may be resurfacing, for instance. But you have to get to a point of being fed up and giving yourself an opportunity to live, to have life, instead of being this person that's just caved away. Because it's not helpful, it's not healthy, it's very toxic. And something that I learned for myself is that I couldn't do it no more. You know, after coming away from my suicidal attempt, I was just like, okay, I've been given another opportunity. And the thing about it is, you hear it in, like, for instance, movies, that, you know, somebody, I don't know, dropped and then, you know, or they had a near to death experience and they're like, oh, you know, I'm going to make something of my life now. And some people do actually turn it around, but you have to now use certain things and transfer it into something good, into something better. One thing that I used to do was I used to do a lot of self-affirmations. So I would do a lot of reciting in the mirror. I still do it now. My book is based on things like this, you know, activities to, you know, uplift yourself. You have to get comfortable of being with yourself, and also like transfer the idea of loneliness. Like, loneliness is only, like we've been touching on, loneliness is a mindset, but loneliness is only loneliness if that's how you want to see it. Because physically, to people and to this world today, if you're on your own, you're lonely. But I'm not being funny, I've been by myself for like over 5 years and I am not alone.
You're happy, you're fulfilled.
I'm happy. I'm doing things that I never thought I'd ever experience or do. And it's because I once was told by a very wise woman, I don't know if she's listening or if she would ever figure out what I'm talking about, but she said to me, do what God needs you to do. And I was just like, because for me, I'm a person of questions, so I'll be like, okay, when is it ready to date? When am I ready to date? When do you know it's ready to date, miss? She'd be like, do what you need to do. You'll know when the time is right. It wasn't so much that I was trying to rush into anything and I was me asking these questions. I just wanted to be certain, because it's like, if you've made some mistakes so many times or you've been in toxic relationships so many times, why put yourself in that same predicament? Even with friendships. Like, when I first came to the place that I started to go to church, I didn't know
the UCKG
that, the UCKG Help Center, I didn't know, that it would be a situation where I would have to undo a lot of stuff. I thought I'd just come, do what I'm doing.
Shazam!
Get to know God.
I'm okay.
I'm
okay, guys. Look at that. I'm all right.
I'll get married. That's it.
Oh, look, there's my husband walking through the door of the auditorium. Hey! Argos is just outside. Get the ring.
No,
it didn't happen like that.
So literally, I was just like, you think you have this kind of idea in your mind that this is how it's going to work out, but I was because you're so comfortable and so used to doing what you was doing before. Now you have to like turn that page around, but it takes time. Like, one thing I would say is, don't be hard on yourself, but you have to transfer these things. Like, you have to. I started to say, I'm not lonely. I'm single, and I'm using this single time to get to know myself more, because a lot of people can dictate your life. They can say this, that about you,
and everybody. And opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody has one.
Everybody has one, and people will. What my nan used to say, rest her soul, but she used to say that You know, people will always have something good or bad to say. It does, whatever it is, it's gonna be something. And I just thought to myself, no, like I really have to give myself an opportunity if I've come away from such trauma and such, you know, heavy. It was a heavy weight, a heavy weight. And I thought, you know, it's about that time that I just flip it on its head. Like I just have to change the situation. And
You got fed up.
yeah, I got fed up.
You know, it's quite interesting because here's the thing, right? We're just coming close to the end of the program, but getting fed up. People can be comfortable in their hidden situation.
Yes.
People can be comfortable in their hidden inadequacy. They feel inadequate, and they can be hidden in it, and be comfortable because they don't want to ruffle anything because it takes effort. You know, people can be comfortable, you know, certain dialogues or relationships they have people, they feel inadequate. Things are not okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm familiar with this place.
Yeah.
Why do I want to make an effort to ruffle things up and change it? Start communicating, start digging deep in my past and unraveling stuff and starting to let it all out.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? However, the thing about having an inadequacy or this loneliness inside of you and letting it stay there is that in life, things never stay the same.
No.
They will either get better or they will get worse.
Very true.
You know, and that's the strong thing about it. That's why we got to take on board what you're saying.
Yeah.
Regardless of wherever we are in our life, we need to go through the effort of solving the situation and not keeping it hidden, you know, as uncomfortable as it may be.
And the bottom line is that at the end of the day, it's my problem is not Robert's problem. The problem just lies with me. It lies with me. I'm the one that has to make the changes. You know, as they say that you can bring a horse to the well, but you can't make the horse drink the water. And that is so true. It's like, these are just sayings that everybody knows before we start to meditate on the word or we start to these are things that people know, but it's like they don't want to put into practice because of inadequacy, like because they feel like, what's the point in trying something? But it's always best to try something new. We learn something new every day. But if we don't project these things, if we don't search and finding out what's the answers to that, there's always an answer to every situation in life.
There's always an answer, and self-sabotage, like, at least if I self-sabotage, I won't make the effort of being disappointed if it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Right? I'm going to look for the answer, okay, but it feels nicer in this moment of, you know, that this situation is not good. You know, if things are hopeful to self-sabotage it, do you know what I mean? But what you're saying is like, no, you need to do that. You need to.
Sometimes you need to go deep and you need to tell yourself, okay, this is how I am. Like, these are the flaws that I have. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. And even one of the tasks that I have in my book is to, you know, whatever your strengths are and whatever your weaknesses, 9 times out of 10, your strengths will overpower your weaknesses. You can actually overcome your weaknesses with the strengths that you have. And everyone has them, you know. And I had to actually come to the understanding that I had them myself. And that really, when I say really, helped me to overcome the things that I was going through. And yeah, like, it just all boils down to you. What do you want out of life? Do you want to remain lonely? Do you want to remain depressed? Do you want to remain suicidal? I don't know. You know, I said, who wants to be suicidal?
Nobody. Naturally in their right state of mind. Every human being wants to thrive.
Exactly. Everybody's trying to search for that happiness. And sometimes that happiness it could be far away, but it all depends on what you are willing to do. It doesn't have to be, but if you're not willing to take those steps, it's going to be further and further away.
Wow.
You know, it's going to be further and further away if you don't take those steps in learning about yourself, what you like, what you dislike about yourself. And even though you dislike it, it's not to say that you can't love it in the end. Because one thing that I noticed is that there's things that God did take away from me, but there's things that he still left within me. Like, he still helped me to understand that you use it in moderacy. Moderation. So it's like, before, people would say I had a mouth on me, but it's not that I have a mouth. It's now that I understand. I know how to utilize it better.
Yeah.
I'm very straightforward. You know, I speak what I have to speak, and it's how I communicate that. Because it's not about using your tone of voice. Before my tone was just on 10, but now it's like, no, I'm gonna explain.
That's scary
things.
to think about you on a level 10. That's a scary thought. Wow.
It is scary.
But okay, look, Nicole, thank you so much for that. I think, you know, we've been touching on loneliness. We've been touching on, you know, these inadequacies that human beings can have.
Yeah.
It's all transferable, these tools that we've learned. And, you know, guys, if you are fed up, you know, the power is in our hands to change it. That's what you're telling us.
Yes.
But we have to be ready. That we have to know that the only thing that's putting us off from doing it is that we'll have to go through the effort of going deep.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to go deep.
It's not an easy road.
And also and I know you're a life coach, right?
Yes.
And also you're a book author as well.
Yes.
So I mean, have you got a website or something that people can connect to you?
So I have my Instagram page is new me. So it's n.e.w_me_. So it's
So NEW.me.
No, the N is abbreviated, so it's dots in between.
Okay.
And
okay.
then
All right. So complicated. What's wrong with you?
N.E.W_me_.
Is there a dot in between the me?
No, there's an underscore.
There's an underscore. Okay, so new me.
Yeah, underscore now.
Yeah, underscore.
Yeah, that's actually my business page.
Okay.
So you can find like books and my book. I'm writing a new book now. I do poetry, so that's my main.
I love poetry.
Concept of writing.
Yeah.
And so I'm there to offer everything that I have, really and truly. So if you need any support or ask any questions, or you want to ask me about my life, it doesn't define me now, so we can go into it. It doesn't matter.
Like, truly, Nicole, thank you so much for that. You really are a rare, powerful gem.
Oh, thank you.
You know what I mean? And it just goes to show, guys, that she's there today giving these wonderful tips and insights. But like all of us, we were all in the dirt, you know. So right now, if you feel that you're in the dirt, and you know, but just know you are a diamond.
Yes, you
are. A
are.
rose is still a rose, baby girl. You got the power. It's a song that was floating in my head. Yeah. So do you know what I mean? So it literally is what it is. So please get in touch with Nicole. She's really happy to help you. Also, you can get through to our the UCKG Help Center. Just visit uckg.org, uckg.org, and you'll have all the services there. 24-hour helpline, prayer line. We'll be there to serve you, as well as the various programs that we have from the UCKG Help Center on the Liberty Radio. We have Shirley joining us, saying a comment. She says, "It was only after acknowledging that my decisions, my way, and doing things my strength was not working that I was able to change my life. Only when we exhaust our options are we freed."
That's a powerful word right there,
She's round table crew. She's part of the round table. Oh my gosh. Look, I'm going to have copy and paste this. I'm going to put this one on my Facebook. Oh gosh, I can't. Oh man. But anyway, look guys, I think that's it now. We're done for now. Just want to say thank you so much, Nicole, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Captain Hugo, for being a great man of sound. And thank you, dear listeners, for joining us today. Let's stay powerful, stay robust. There's going to be a replay tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. And until next time, ciao.
Ciao.
For now.
See you guys.
Connect online Monday to Friday with special guests for inspiration, motivation to start your morning right. Music, banter, fun and laughter. Connect when you start your mornings with The Breakfast Show. Only on libertyradio.co.uk. That's right, The Breakfast Show is back. libertyradio.co.uk from 6:30 a.m.